Hey guys, how are you? In this tutorial I want to show you how I created this infinite scrolling effect. So you can see here we have 3 tiles, and when we scroll at the bottom, after a couple of seconds we get multiple tiles appearing on the screen. Also we have this loading animation which appears in the meantime. The loading animation I already created a tutorial, go check that out if you want, I put the link in the description below. And also, instead of recreating this project, I want to add a loading animation on a new project I created yesterday, this blog post design. So basically here we have also 3 tiles, and when we scroll at the bottom I want the loading animation to appear, and then after a while we make a request to the API and it will send back some information and we put it in the DOM. Alright, let me close this up. Okay, and fork this project, because I don't want to work on top of this project, we create a new one. Alright, let's see, we don't need this thing. Alright, also for the CSS, we can remove a bunch of code here. Okay, this is only needed for my 100 days 100 projects challenge. Okay, and let's change this title to infinite scrolling. Okay, something like that. Let me quickly go over the HTML and the CSS structure, and also we have a little bit of JavaScript. I remove this too because this is from the other project. Okay. Also let me zoom in so we can see better. Oops. Something like that. Alright, so I have here the HTML structure. So you can see we have a container, and here the heading, and this block is basically how our blog post card is looking like. So yeah, we have a title, some text, and then the user information is an image and the name in a span element. And the CSS, we have a font. We don't need this one, it's from another project. We have the font, the background color for the body, the padding bottom bigger because we want to show here the loading animation. Alright, then the container, it has a maximum width, not width, okay. Yep, the blog post has a background color white, a little bit of box shadow to make it pop up, and then a little padding and margin. The title, we remove the margin, change the color on the text. Also the user info, it's a flex element, so we want everything to be centered here. Style a little bit the image and the span, and that's pretty much it for one tile. And when it comes to JavaScript, we are basically getting the container, and we have, let's see, yep, we have a get post function, which basically calls two APIs. So first, it uses the JSON placeholder API to get a random post title, and this one basically, post title and post text. And I also wanted to have a random user for all the posts, so I use the random user API here. And yeah, we have a get random number function here because, well, let me show you quickly. So if we go over to JSON placeholder, here we can get a list of to-dos and posts and comments and stuff like that. As you can see here, we have 100 posts. I didn't want it to take the entire array here, so then I created a getRandomNumber function, which basically returns a number between 1 and 100, and we take a random post from that API. We store the data, then we take a random user. This API returns a random user every time we call it. It has a bunch of information, the gender, name, location, all that stuff. Okay, so we didn't have to do any trick to get a random user here because it already gives us a random user. And then we're using this data to create a new object which has the post and the user, and we're using the add data to DOM to create the HTML structure I showed you here in the HTML. So basically it's pretty much the same structure here. Let me comment it out, but we just add in the information here. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. I didn't want to go over all the HTML CSS because in this tutorial I want to focus on implementing the infinite scrolling, but if we want, I can create another tutorial and I can show you how I created this from scratch. Alright, so what we want to do now is to, let me make this a little smaller, right? We want to add the scroll event listener on the window. So let's do it here. Window.scroll, add event listener scroll. And we're doing something here. We basically need to check for 3 properties. First, we have the document height. So basically this part here from top to bottom. And then we have the scrollable height. So basically this entire thing from here to the top, the entire scroll. And then we also have the amount scrolled from the top. So this here, if you can see. All right, so basically what we need to check is to see, okay, we have the document height, and then we add the total amount scrolled from the top, and we check if that is bigger or equal to the total amount of scrollable height. I hope that makes sense. Let me put that into code. Okay, so all these properties are on the document element, basically on the HTML, and we can take those out by saying const scroll top, scroll height, and client height equals 2. So we take all this property from the HTML DOM element. This one is the amount scrolled from the top. Then scroll height is the total amount of scrollable content, and the client height is the part we see here. So this height. Let's console them to see. Scroll top, scroll height, client height. Okay, I have another console log here. We don't need this. All right, let's clear this. Okay, so let's see it better. I'm going to put it as an object here. Okay, so this is just a fancy way so you can see the property name and the value. So in this case, the entire client height is 383 pixels. The entire scroll height is 1098 pixels, and the amount we scroll from the top, you see, varies because we are scrolling. So when we are on the top, it's 0. So all we have to do is basically check if the client height plus the scroll top is equals to the height. So let's do that. If the client height plus scroll top is bigger or equals than scroll height. And if it is, let's console.log to the bottom. This is because we want to show the animation when it is in the bottom, and we want to load new content when it reaches the bottom. So yeah, let's try that now. So when we are at the bottom, oops, apparently it doesn't work. Why is that? So that's because you can see here we have, instead of having 617 to make it to be round, we have that 66687 and stuff like that. It's not rounded. So to fix that, let's just add an offset of 5 pixels or something like that. Okay, so let's try again. I scroll to the bottom. Let's see. Oops, no, sorry, my bad. It's not plus, it's minus. Okay. To the bottom, again, to the bottom. Perfect. So now we reach the bottom, we have to do the following things. Show a loading animation. Okay. But we don't have the loading elements yet, so let's quickly add it. I'm going to paste it from the other project. So we have the loading div with the 3 ball divs, circle divs, or how you want to call it. Okay, and then we have the CSS. So we have the loading, which is by default hidden with opacity 0, and we're only showing it when we have the show class on it. So let's say by default. Let me comment this out. Okay, yeah, so they're not very visible. Let's make the background color darkish, so like 222 or something. Okay, and they're in the left, so let's center them quickly. Left 50%, and then oops, I always mess this up. Transform, translate the x-axis minus 50%. Boom, they should be in the center now. Okay, so you can see now when we reach the button, we can see them clearly. I don't really like the color, so let me change it to 727, something like that. Okay, better. But we don't want them to be visible all the time, so let's hide it first and only show it when we add that class. So that's what we want to do here. Show the loading animation. Let's write functions, show loading, and here in the function we're going to say loading style, oops, class list, add show. But we don't have the loading yet, so let's do it here. Const loading, document, query selector, loading. Okay, so now this should work. When we reach the bottom, perfect. So the circles start jumping on the screen. Basically, they're jumping all the time, we just hide it. Okay, the next thing here would be to load more data and then hide the loading animation. So loading the data is easy because we already have the getPost method. So we just call this, and when it finishes, then we can hide the loading animation. So this is going to go inside the getPosts here after we add it to the domain. Well, let's do it here. So loading class list remove show. Whoops. All right, so now this should work. We scroll to the bottom. Whoops. Yeah, so it loads very, very fast. You see? So to make it more visible, let's add the get post into a set timeout. Maybe a second. So get post, something like that. Okay, when we scroll down, 1 second, boom, new post. Okay, can see, perfect. Yeah, that's pretty much it. We now have infinite scrolling. You can use it in your projects where you don't want to load all the content beforehand. You just want to allow the user to do something like scrolling or something like that, and just afterwards load more content. So yeah, this is pretty much it for this tutorial. I'm going to leave the link in the description. If you like this video, make sure you give it a like and subscribe and share it with your friends. Also, I have big news. Starting from the next video, my audio should be much better because I just bought a new microphone. So see you next time. Bye.